Okay, so picture this. You're walking through Moscow. Let's say it's the early 2000s. You've got that whole vibe.
Right, that post-Soviet new money energy.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Neon signs, rain on the pavement, these massive, grim concrete apartment blocks right next to, these flashy new skyscrapers made of glass and steel.
A city of contrasts.
Totally. And it just looks like a normal, huge, chaotic city. But I want you to look at your shadow on the sidewalk.
Mm-hmm.
What if I told you that right there, in that patch of darkness, there's a whole other reality, a magical one, operating completely in secret?
It's such a great hook, isn't it? That idea that what we see, it's just the surface layer. And that the person sitting across from you on the metro, maybe reading a newspaper, could be a vampire.
Yeah.
A vampire on his way to his 9 to 5 office job, or the street cleaner you see every morning is actually a bard. And he's not just sweeping leaves, he's weaving a spell to keep the city from, tearing itself apart.
Yes, and that's what gets me. This isn't high fantasy. We're not talking about, dragons on mountains of gold.
No, not at all.
We're talking about middle managers, data analysts, security guards, who just happen to be werewolves or sorcerers. It's magic, but it's magic with a mortgage.
Magic with a mortgage. That is, I think, the perfect summary for this entire world.
Right.
And today, we are diving deep into the Twilight Watch. This is the third book in the absolutely massive urban fantasy series by Sergei Lukyanenko.
A series that was just a phenomenon, first in Russia and then, everywhere.
And for good reason. It has this gritty, almost cynical post-Soviet feel, but it mashes it together with these huge fantasy ideas. It's a brilliant combination.
And for this deep dive, we're going to be focusing on the first story in the book, Nobody's Time, and then we'll just dip our toes into the beginning of the second one, Nobody's Space.
Yeah, and our mission really is to unpack this whole world, because the magic system here isn't about waving a wand. It's about bureaucracy. It's about red tape and loopholes.
It's a magical world drowning in paperwork.
Exactly. And we're going to explore the two factions, the Watches, and the incredibly complex game of 4D chess their leaders are playing. It's more of a political thriller than a fantasy story sometimes.
It really is. But before we get into the spies and the spells, we have to talk about the setting, because the main stage for this story, it's practically a character itself.
It is. The Assol residential complex.
Ah, Assol. So for anyone not familiar with, let's say, the architectural tastes of New Russia in the late 90s, early 2000s, just imagine something incredibly over the top.
Pompous is the word the book uses. Kitschy. It's a symbol of this massive new wealth that hasn't quite figured out what good taste is yet.
Right, it's trying so hard.
It really is. It represents this specific moment in Russian history, this explosion of oil money. And so you get a place like Assol. It has these perfect English lawns.
Manicured with scissors, the book says.
With scissors. And silent Swiss elevators, and these apartments that are just enormous, 300 square meters. But, and this is the key thing, it's almost completely empty.
Like a ghost town for billionaires.
Precisely. It's
Yes.
all facade, marble lobbies, gold-plated fixtures, but no people, no life. And that emptiness, that isolation, it creates this really eerie atmosphere.
Yeah, it's the perfect place for a secret magical investigation, because you have all this luxury, all this security, but nobody is actually watching.
It's a vacuum. And that's where our story begins.
Okay, so into this empty, gilded stage, we drop our conflict. But first, we need to lay out the players on the board. So if you're new to this universe, let's do a quick refresher on the magical geopolitics. It all starts with the others.
Right. So others are fundamentally human, but they're born with a specific ability. They can step into the twilight.
And the Twilight is?
The twilight is, think of it as another dimension that exists right alongside ours.
Yeah.
A kind of parasitic layer of reality. It's gray, it's muted, and it drains energy from our world, but it's also the source of all magic. Others can enter it and draw power from it.
Okay, so you have these magical people, but they're not one big happy family.
Not even close. They are split right down the middle into two opposing factions based on a deep philosophical divide.
And this is where it gets so good, because it's not a simple good versus evil thing.
Right.
It's more like two political parties that just happen to have superpowers.
That's a great way to put it. It is deeply political. So on one side, you have the Night Watch.
The good guys, in theory.
In theory.
Mm-hmm.
These are the light others, magicians, healers, sorceresses. Their official job is to police the dark ones. They're sworn to protect humanity.
Not.
But they are absolutely crippled by their own conscience and by the rules. They want to do good, but they're always second-guessing themselves, worried about the butterfly effect. If I save this one person, what if it causes a bigger disaster down the line?
So they're overworked, tired, and full of self-doubt.
They're basically cosmic social workers who are perpetually burned out.
Okay, so that's the light. Then you've got the day watch.
The Day Watch, these are the dark others. Your vampires, werewolves, dark magicians. And their job is to police the light ones.
Now, are they evil? Do they want to, like, blot out the sun and have eternal darkness?
Not really. Their philosophy isn't about destruction for destruction's sake. It's about absolute, radical personal freedom.
Okay.
Think of it this way. They believe they have the right to do whatever they want, whenever they want, to whomever they want, without consequence. They see the light others as hypocrites, as people who deny their own nature and try to impose all these pointless rules on everyone else.
So it's not good versus evil. It's more like responsibility versus freedom.
Precisely. But in this case, freedom includes the freedom to drain a human dry for a snack if you're feeling a bit peckish.
Right, there's that. So you have these two superpowers locked in a magical Cold War. But there's a third group stuck in the middle, the Inquisition.
And yes, the name is deliberately terrifying.
I'd imagine so.
The Inquisition is an impartial body. It's made up of both light and dark others who have, risen above the conflict. They are the magical UN Security Council, but with actual power.
So they're the referees.
They are the referees, the judges, and the executioners. Their only concern is enforcing something called the treaty. This is the grand peace agreement that stops the light and dark from just wiping each other out. They don't care about morality. They don't care about good or evil. They care about the law. Full stop.
So it's this incredibly delicate balance, a total stalemate. Everyone is watching everyone else. And into this house of cards, someone throws a bomb.
Or rather,
a letter.
a very, very strange letter.
It's sent anonymously and simultaneously to the Night Watch, the Day Watch, and the Inquisition. And the message inside is, well, it's world-shattering.
It says that an other is planning to turn a normal human being into an other.
Correct.
Okay, let's pause on that for a second and really dig into why this is such a huge deal. Because to an outsider, that sounds like recruitment.
Right.
We're looking for a few good magicians.
Right, but that's the fundamental law of this universe. You cannot make someone a magician. You're either born with the potential, with the genetic marker to enter the Twilight, or you're not. It's biological. You can't learn it.
You can't learn it. You can't be taught. Now, you can be turned into a vampire or a werewolf, but those are considered lower forms. You're basically creating an undead creature or cursing someone. But to take a regular an accountant from Moscow and turn them into a full-fledged magician who can bend reality?
It's impossible.
It's believed to be completely metaphysically impossible.
So this letter is claiming that someone has cracked the code, that they've developed a spell or a technology that breaks the fundamental laws of nature.
Think about the implications. If you can suddenly mass-produce magicians from the general population, the balance of power is gone.
It's a magical arms race.
It's the magical Manhattan Project. Whichever sidelight or dark gets their hands on this technology first, they don't just win the war, they win reality. Forever.
This is an extinction-level event for one of the sides.
Absolutely. And the way this thread is delivered, I mean, the medium is the message. And this is maybe the best example I've ever seen.
It's so wonderfully, specifically bizarre. Tell us about the letter itself.
Okay, so the letters, the actual words, are pasted onto cheap toilet paper.
Toilet paper?
Not just any toilet paper. A specific Russian brand called 54 meters. It's the kind of detail that just grounds it in this gritty, mundane reality.
It's not written on, like, cursed parchment. It's on single ply.
Exactly. And the letters themselves, the cutout words, are taken from 3 very specific newspapers.
Okay, what are they?
Pravda, Kommersant, and Arguments and Facts.
Right. So, for context, Pravda was the old Soviet Union's official newspaper, the voice of the Communist Party.
It's the voice of the old guard, the past. Then you have Kommersant, which is like the Russian Wall Street Journal. It represents the new, aggressive, cutthroat capitalism of the 90s and 2000s.
So old guard, new money.
And then Arguments and Facts, which was and still is a hugely popular mass-market tabloid. The voice of the people, you could say.
So you have the state, the corporations, and the tabloids.
All mixed together into a ransom note and pasted onto toilet paper.
Literally, it's not just a threat, it's an insult.
It's the ultimate act of contempt. It's screaming, I hold the secret to shattering your entire world, and I think so little of your authority that I'm delivering this news on something you flush away.
So obviously the Watchers have to take this seriously. They can't just ignore it. And that brings us to our protagonist, our narrator, Anton Gorodetsky.
Yes, Anton,
Yeah.
who I love because he is probably the most reluctant hero in modern fantasy.
He's just trying to be on vacation. He's in Spain, eating paella, trying to relax. And then the phone rings.
And it's the boss.
Yeah.
And when your boss is Gizar, the head of the Moscow Night Watch, you don't screen that call.
Let's give a quick profile of Anton. He's a light magician, but he's not. He's not some all-powerful archmage.
No, he's decidedly mid-level. A grand magician, third-grade power. He's good at his job, but he's not the heavy hitter. He's more like a tired detective in a Raymond Chandler novel.
That's a great comparison.
He's cynical. He's weary. He loves his wife, Svetlana, who happens to be a great enchantress, way, way more powerful than he is, and their young daughter, Nadia. And that family is his anchor. He's our viewpoint character because he's grounded. He sees all this high-level magical politics and often thinks it's just as ridiculous as we do.
He's the everyman, but with magic.
Exactly.
So Gizar yanks him back from his vacation and gives him the mission. Go to the Assol complex, find the renegade other who sent the letter, and identify the human client who wants to be turned. But he has to go undercover.
Right. He can't just flash a Night Watch badge. He has to fit in with the super rich residents of Assol.
And this leads to this hilarious makeover sequence.
It's wonderful. It's pure satire of that whole new Russian image.
So Gizar brings in this team to transform Anton. You've got this mournful Jewish tailor who is also a low-level other, complaining about the fabric while stitching this perfect, expensive suit.
And then, my favorite part, an incubus named Ignat is brought in as his stylist.
An incubus stylist, it makes perfect sense.
Yeah. Who else would be better at crafting an image of irresistible success and power? Ignat doesn't just dress him. He changes his posture, his walk. He projects money.
And then they take him to the dentist.
The dentist. To get his teeth professionally cleaned and whitened. To give him that perfect, blindingly expensive smile. And Anton absolutely hates it. He says it makes him feel exposed, like his teeth are naked.
It's like the disguise is stripping away his real self, his comfortable, slightly shabby identity.
It is. He's being forced to play a role that he fundamentally despises, this wealthy, vapid businessman, which ironically makes his cover even better.
So all suited up, teeth gleaming, he gets to his new luxury apartment in Assol. Gizar has set him up with this amazing flat to maintain the cover. He walks in expecting, Italian leather couches and a home cinema.
And it's a construction site.
Right.
It's got the expensive floors, but the walls are bare concrete. There's no furniture, just a cardboard box with some food.
Yeah.
And the piece de resistance.
No toilet.
No toilet, just a plugged sewer pipe sticking out of the floor.
In a multi-million-dollar apartment.
It is the perfect metaphor for the entire complex, and maybe for that whole era Lukyanenko's critiquing. It is all a facade. The exterior is shiny and impressive, but inside, the most basic, essential things are missing. It's wealth without substance.
And it's just a great, gritty detail. Your hero is on this world-saving mission, but his first problem is figuring out where to go to the bathroom.
It keeps him human. It keeps the story grounded.
So Anton is in this empty, toiletless apartment. He's grumpy, and he starts his stakeout. He starts meeting the few other residents. And this is where we meet Los.
Los. He's Anton's neighbor and our first major red herring.
Tell us about Los. He's a character.
He is. He's a musician, a bard,
Yeah.
but he works as a janitor in the complex.
Not because he needs the money.
No, just for fun. Because he gets to drive the big, fancy street-sweeping machines. He just thinks they're cool.
He's this total eccentric. He collects weird T-shirts. He tells these bizarre, rambling stories about lobsters escaping from supermarket tanks. And most importantly,
He has a working toilet, a huge, fancy English one, which Anton immediately covets.
Luz represents this kind of human chaos. Anton can't get a read on him. His magical aura is just a jumble. It's not light, it's not dark, it's just noise.
And in a world that is so rigidly defined by those two poles, that kind of randomness is suspicious. Anton can't categorize him, so he immediately thinks Laws might be the guy.
But he's not. The real investigation is happening on two fronts because the Day Watch got the letter too.
And they are not sitting this one out. They send their own agent. And in a great twist, it's someone Anton knows. His old neighbor, Kostya.
This relationship is so key to the story. It adds this real emotional weight. So who was Kostya?
Kostya used to be this kid who lived next door to Anton in his real, normal apartment building, a young vampire. But he was different. He wanted to be a biologist. He was trying to find a scientific cure for vampirism.
So he was a good vampire.
He was trying to be. He drank donated blood. He avoided hurting people. He was this symbol of hope for Anton, proof that maybe dark others weren't all irredeemable monsters.
And now?
Now, he's a higher vampire. He's climbed the ladder in the Day Watch. And for a vampire, you only climb that ladder one way,
By taking human life.
by taking a lot of human life. He's crossed every line he once drew for himself. And it's heartbreaking for Anton. He sees this kid he once knew, who is now this perfect predator.
There's that scene where he just lands on Anton's windowsill as a giant bat.
Yes. Transforms back into his human form and just sits there, completely naked, and starts having this incredibly cynical conversation about the case.
The casualness of it is so jarring. He shed all his human hang-ups.
He's become what the Day Watch wanted him to be. He's powerful, he's ambitious. He looks at Anton and basically mocks him for being a naive light magician, always worrying about ethics and consequences. Kostya just takes what he wants.
But there's still a connection there, isn't there?
There is. They're almost friends in a twisted way. They're rivals on the same case, sharing bits of information. But they both know that at any moment, they might have to try and kill each other. It's this tense, tragic dynamic.
Friend versus friend, and then looming over both of them, you have the Inquisition. They send their own man, Wittyslav.
And just the name tells you everything you need to know.
It does not sound friendly.
Wittyslav is a vampire inquisitor from Prague. He's ancient, he's absurdly powerful, and he's terrifyingly polite.
Always the worst kind.
He is the wild card. As an inquisitor, he doesn't have a side. He doesn't care about light or dark politics. He cares about the treaty. He's the law embodied, and he's got this incredibly dark backstory. He killed his own mother.
Wow.
When he was first turned into a vampire, he lost control and killed his mother. That act of matricide has defined his entire existence. It's what made him this cold, detached, ruthlessly efficient enforcer. He's pure trauma and pure logic.
So you have Anton the detective, Kostya the tragic monster, and Wittyslav the unfeeling lawman, all circling each other in this empty luxury building.
A perfect storm of conflicting agendas.
And they start to find clues. They're looking at the surveillance footage, trying to figure out how the letters were mailed, and Anton finds something.
He does. He discovers that the anonymous letters were almost certainly slipped into a stack of mail being posted by a group of Uzbek construction workers at the complex.
Why is that detail so important? What does that tell him?
It's about methodology. It's a profile of the suspect. A dark other, a vampire, a warlock. If they were going to do this, they'd likely do it themselves. They enjoy the direct application of power.
Right, it's more their style.
Or they'd use brute force, magically compel someone to do it. But this is subtle. It's indirect. Slipping a letter into a pile of mail, using an innocent third party so your hands are technically clean.
That's a light magician's move.
It is classic Night Watch tradecraft. How Gizar operates. Use others to do your dirty work. Manipulate events from a distance.
So the horrible realization starts to sink in for Anton. The traitor, the one with the world-breaking secret, is probably one of his own. A light magician who has gone rogue.
And that changes everything for him.
So he knows he needs more information. He needs to see the resident files for the Assol complex. He tries to just bribe the security chief.
Which goes terribly, because the chief is this honest, by-the-book, ex-military guy who's deeply offended.
So Anton has to improvise. He ends up bonding with the guy by spinning this completely fake sordid story about catching his wife cheating.
And it's classic Anton. He fails with magic and money, but he succeeds with a very mundane, very human lie. It's relatable. And it works. He gets access to the files.
He starts going through them, looking for anyone who seems out of place, anyone with a strange history, and then he pulls the file for a man named Timur Borisovich.
61 years old.
Yeah.
Wealthy businessman.
Anton looks at the photograph in the file, and he just freezes. What does he see?
He sees Gizar's face.
His boss.
It's undeniably him, but
Yeah.
human. Older, aged naturally. He's heavier, he's balding. The face is lined with 60 years of normal human life, not millennia of magic. But the bone structure, the eyes, it's Gizar.
And in that moment, the entire case just flipped upside down. The penny drops. Timur is Gizar's son.
It is a massive, massive revelation. We know Gizar as this ancient, calculating, almost inhuman figure, the ultimate puppet master. And suddenly, he's humanized.
He has a family. A vulnerability.
We find out that just before World War II, he had a son in Uzbekistan. But the mother died, the boy ended up in an orphanage, and in the chaos of the war, Gizar lost track of him. For 60 years, he thought his only child was dead.
Wow. So Anton puts the pieces together. The human client from the letter, the one who wants to become another, that's Timur.
It has to be.
And the renegade other who made the impossible promise to turn him, that must be Gizar.
It's the only theory that fits. Anton figures Gizar must have found his long-lost son, been overwhelmed by this sudden flood of emotion, guilt, love, whatever, and made a foolish, rash promise. I'm a great magician. I can give you anything you want.
And Timur, the successful businessman who already has all the money and power a human can have, he asks for the one thing he can't buy.
Immortality. Magic. Make me like you, father.
But Gizar can't do it. It's illegal under the treaty, and it's supposedly impossible anyway. And in this world, a powerful magician's word is magically binding.
If he breaks a direct promise, he could literally dematerialize, cease to exist.
So Anton's theory is that Gizar got trapped by his own promise, panicked, and then sent the anonymous letters himself.
Right, to blow the whole situation up, to create enough chaos that maybe the promise would be voided, or he could find some other way out. It's a desperation move from a man who is never desperate.
So Anton thinks he has to go save his boss from his own mistake. He decides to confront Timur directly.
And he does it in style. He uses the Twilight to just walk through the walls of Timur's penthouse, bypassing all the bodyguards.
He storms in, ready for this massive confrontation, ready to save the world. And where does he find Timur?
In the jacuzzi.
Of course he does.
It is the most Lukyanenko image possible. This collision of the epic and the mundane. Anton, shimmering with magical energy on this vital mission, standing in his steamy bathroom while a naked 61-year-old man is soaking in bubbles.
So the interrogation happens right there.
It does. And Timur admits everything. He says he was approached by a man who claimed to be his long-lost father, but he says the man was disguised. He looked like a famous old Soviet film actor, Oleg Strizhinov.
Okay, that's a weird detail.
It is. But Timur confirms the rest. This father offered him anything, and he demanded to be made an other.
So Anton has to play a psychological card. He doesn't have any real power here.
Right. He basically tells Timur, look, your father made a promise he can't keep. It's impossible. Your demand is literally killing him. If you don't take it back, he will die.
He appeals to a sense of family.
And it works. Timur isn't a bad guy. He's just an opportunist. He's shocked to hear his demand could kill his newfound father, so he agrees. He withdraws the request.
And Anton breathes this huge sigh of relief. He thinks, okay, crisis averted. I fixed Gizar's screw-up. We can all go home.
He thinks he's won.
But the bathroom is about to get very, very crowded.
To put it mildly. Because Anton wasn't the only one who figured it out. A second later, Kostya the vampire just materializes out of the shadows.
And then the Inquisitors...
Wittyslav and his partner Edgar step right out of the Twilight. They've all tracked Timur down at the exact same moment. And they are not happy.
They think they've just walked in on the crime of the century. They think they've caught the head of the Night Watch red-handed, breaking the treaty in the most blatant way possible.
Yeah.
Nepotism, trying to illegally initiate a human.
The tension is just unbearable. You have the Night Watch, the Day Watch, and the Inquisition all in this one tiled bathroom ready to go to war.
And in that moment, Wittyslav, the cold, logical Inquisitor, makes a move. He acts.
He casts a spell on Timur. A paralysis spell, just freezes him in the jacuzzi.
Why?
From his point of view, Timur is the central piece of evidence.
Yeah.
He's securing the scene. He wants to stop him from running, from talking, from doing anything. He's treating him like a piece of contraband.
And that single action, that is the mistake the entire plan was built around.
That is the hinge on which the entire story turns. Because at that exact moment, a portal opens up in the bathroom.
And Gizar steps out.
And he doesn't look guilty. He doesn't look panicked. He puts on this incredible performance of shock. He looks at Timur, frozen in the tub, and says something like, "My son, is it you? I thought you were dead."
He plays the part of the grieving father who has just found his long-lost child.
And then he turns to the Inquisitors. And this is where the trap springs. This is the masterclass in magical law. He swears a binding oath on the Lighten oath that would incinerate him if he were lying.
What does he swear?
First, he swears he had never met Timur Borisovich before this very moment.
Wait, hold on. But Timur said he met his father.
Timur met a man disguised as a film actor. Gizar, in his own form, had never met him. It's a semantic truth. The lawyer's trick.
Okay, that's clever. What's the second oath?
He swears he never sent the anonymous letters.
The toilet paper, the newspapers.
Again, it's about the wording. Did he personally cut out the letters and mail them? No. Did he manipulate events and people so that the letters would be sent by someone else? Unwittingly, almost certainly, but he can truthfully swear he didn't send them.
This is incredible. He's using the letter of the law against itself.
But that's only the first part of the trap. The second part is the masterstroke. He turns to Wittyslav and points at his paralyzed son in the jacuzzi. And he says, "You have just committed a crime. You attacked an innocent human with dark magic.
Which is true. Widislav did cast a paralysis spell. That's an attack.
Precisely. And then Gizar drops the final bombshell. The piece of information he's been holding back this whole time. Tibor isn't just a normal human. He's a potential other.
Oh, wow.
He was born with the genes, the latent ability to enter the twilight. It just never activated, which is rare but possible. He lived his whole life as a normal man, but the potential was always there, dormant in his blood.
So he was a magical sleeper agent and didn't even know it.
Correct. But, and here is the absolute genius of Gizar's plan. Timur is a ruthless, selfish, greedy, capitalist businessman. If his powers had awakened naturally, there is a 100% chance he would have become a Dark Other.
He was a natural recruit for the Day Watch.
He was a guaranteed asset for the dark side, a powerful, wealthy, amoral magician. But
the dark side, in the form of the Vampire Inquisitor, just attacked him.
before he had chosen a side, they used dark magic on a neutral, potential other. And according to the Grand Treaty, that is a major violation, an act of unprovoked aggression.
I see it. I see the checkmate.
Because the treaty has a clause for this exact situation. If one side attacks an uninitiated potential other, the other side gains the legal right to take the victim under their protection for rehabilitation and remoralization.
Oh my god, it's a legal loophole. Because Widislav froze him in the tub for 5 seconds. The Night Watch now has the right to take Gizar's son, who is destined for the dark, and initiate him as a light magician.
Exactly. Gizar couldn't just turn his son into a light magician. That was impossible. So instead, he built this elaborate mousetrap. He baited the Day Watch and the Inquisition, knowing their ambition and their rigid adherence to the rules would make them overplay their hand. He didn't break the law. He manipulated his enemies into breaking the law for him.
That is one of the most brilliantly convoluted and cynical plans I have ever heard of.
It's Machiavelli with magic. He used his own son as bait, risked a global magical incident, all to exploit a tiny clause in a 1,000-page treaty to save his son's soul from the dark.
It really hammers home that core philosophical question of the whole series, doesn't it? What even is the difference between light and dark?
Right. Anton has this conversation later with his wife, Svetlana. He's shaken by it all. He says, look at what Gizar did. He lied, he manipulated, he used his own son. How is that a light action?
And Svetlana's answer is just, it's so chilling and perfect.
It is. She just looks at him and says, join the dark ones. They're never tormented.
Yeah.
And that's the answer. The only real difference isn't in their actions. Both sides scheme. Both sides use people as pawns. The only difference is that the light, others feel guilty about it.
They're tormented by their conscience.
They do these morally gray, sometimes terrible things for what they believe is the greater good, and then they can't sleep at night. They suffer for it. The dark ones do what they want, and they feel great. The only distinction is the presence of conscience.
So light doesn't mean good, it just means angst-ridden.
In a way, yes. Lukyanenko is deconstructing that entire fantasy trope. Being the hero doesn't feel good. It's painful. It's a burden.
And speaking of that whole Cold War framework, there's another piece to it, this rumor of an ultimate weapon.
The Fauchwand, yes.
Anton talks to an older magician, Semyon, about it, this idea that there's a magical equivalent of a nuclear bomb out there somewhere.
It's the magical MAD doctrine, mutually assured destruction.
Yeah.
The rumor is that there's a spell so powerful that if either side ever uses it, it will just end magic. For everyone, light, dark, humans, everyone goes back to zero.
But Semyon says it's just a myth, right? A scary story.
He dismisses it. He says it's nonsense, that magic and physics don't work that way. But then he says something very telling. He says the important thing isn't whether it's real. The important thing is that everyone is afraid it's real.
The fear is what maintains the balance.
Exactly. The entire piece, the whole treaty, might be built on a bluff. It's that constant, low-level anxiety of the Cold War, perfectly translated into a fantasy setting.
And that anxiety feeds into the title of the story, Nobody's Time. Anton keeps feeling like the world is holding its breath.
He does. He feels like time has stalled. And Svetlana confirms it for him. She's so powerful she can sense these cosmic shifts. And she says it is nobody's time. It's a pause, a liminal state between two eras. The old rules of the watches are starting to crumble, but the new world, whatever that is, hasn't been born yet.
It's a very Russian feeling, I think, that sense of living in a state of permanent transition.
It captures that cultural mood perfectly.
But the book doesn't end there with Gizar's victory. It pivots hard. We have to talk about the beginning of the second story, Nobody's Space. Because the tone, the setting, everything changes.
It's such a brilliant, jarring shift. We leave the high-tech, bureaucratic urban fantasy of Moscow, and we go to the countryside.
To the dacha.
A dacha, that quintessential Russian summer house experience.
Hmm.
And suddenly, we're not in a spy thriller anymore. We're in a folk horror story.
The new story starts with a completely new set of characters. A mother and her 2 young children, Kisha and Rumka, who are renting a dacha for the summer.
And it feels normal, idyllic, for about 5 minutes. And then the kids wander off and get lost in the forest.
And this is not a friendly Disney forest.
No. This is a dark, ancient Russian forest. And they're being stalked by a werewolf.
The description of the werewolf is one of the scariest things in the entire series for me.
It's terrifying because it's not described as this slavering monster. It's described as a smiling gray dog.
Ugh, that's so creepy.
It plays on that childhood innocence. The kids see a dog, and it's smiling at them. And they don't understand that the smile is a predator smile until it's almost too late.
But they're saved. Someone appears.
A mysterious woman, the witch.
She just emerges from the trees. She's barefoot. She's described as being very beautiful, and she lives in a hut deep in the woods. But again, Lukyanenko twists the fairy tale trope.
It's not just a witch in a hut. The hut has an electric kettle and a TV.
Right. It's Baba Yaga, but with modern appliances.
Exactly. It grounds her in the same reality. But her magic is completely different from what we've seen in the city.
It's not about laws and loopholes.
Not at all. It's raw. It's primal. She confronts the werewolf and starts chanting this ancient-sounding spell. Dense wolf's thickets, dead man's ditches. And she uses things from the forest itself. Blades of grass, pieces of birch bark.
And she just obliterates the werewolf with gray bolts of lightning.
It's this incredibly powerful elemental display. And it represents what the title Nobody's Space means. The watches, they police the cities, their treaty, their laws, that's for the urban spaces. But out here, in the deep woods, this is nobody's space. Ancient powers and older rules still apply.
So it sets up this whole new mystery. Who is this witch? The kids ask if she's Baba Yaga, and she denies it. But she has this hut full of books. She's clearly something else.
Like a great cliffhanger. A completely different kind of threat.
A perfect setup for our next deep dive, I think. But let's bring it back and wrap up Nobody's Time. We started with a threat on toilet paper and ended with this ridiculously complex political scheme to save a man's soul.
It's a hell of a ride.
So what's the big takeaway here? What's the point of all this magical bureaucracy and moral ambiguity?
I think the key thing Lukyanenko is exploring is the way systems and power complicate our humanity. In this world, magic doesn't solve problems. If anything, it makes them worse. We'll look at Gizar. Being an incredibly powerful magician didn't help him be a good father. In fact, it's the source of the whole problem. His power forced him into this position where he had to be a manipulative monster in order to do the loving thing and save his son.
And it shows how these big systems, whether it's the Night Watch or a government or a corporation, they eventually start being about the people they're supposed to serve. They become about serving the system itself.
Exactly. They care more about the treaty, about the rules, than about right and wrong. And the individual, like Anton, is just stuck in the middle trying to navigate that impossible gray area.
Okay, so here's a final thought for you to chew on based on all that. We have Svetlana's definition.
Right.
The only difference between light and dark is that the dark ones aren't tormented by what they do.
Right.
So if you had the power to protect the people you love, to shape the world for the better, but to do it, you had to lie, you had to manipulate, you had to do things that would keep you up at night, would you choose the tormented conscience of the light or the guilt-free, effective freedom of the dark?
That is the question, isn't it?
Yeah.
And I think if we're truly honest with ourselves, the answer might be a bit terrifying.
On that note, thanks for joining us for this deep dive into the Twilight Watch. Keep an eye on the shadows out there. You never really know who or what might be looking back.